My name is Elizabeth Adeyemi, and I have one rule I live by. Never let any man decide what you are worth. I was sitting alone at Noir Seoul, the kind of restaurant where the wine list is thicker than the Bible and nobody looks at the prices. I had no business being there. My colleague Zara had won a table for two in a company raffle and handed me her ticket saying, "Go eat something expensive, Elizabeth. You deserve it." So there I was, deep brown skin, glowing warm, under candlelight, natural locks pinned back, wearing the only silk dress I owned, telling myself I belonged. I almost believed it. The restaurant hummed. Low music, quiet ambition, whispered deals between men in expensive shoes. And then the room shifted. Not dramatically, just a stillness fell over one particular table across the floor. The kind of stillness that doesn't come from peace. It comes from power. I didn't look up immediately. I made myself finish my water first, but when I finally raised my eyes, he was already watching me. Korean, jaw carved from something harder than bone, eyes so dark they seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A tailored black suit that moved with him like it had been sewn onto his body, and along the left side of his neck, tattoos, deliberate, unmistakable, beautiful, in the way dangerous things are. Beside him sat a small boy, couldn't have been older than 6, pushing noodles around a bowl with absolute zero interest in eating them. The child looked up at me, held my gaze for a moment, then looked back down. Something pulled in my chest. I couldn't name it. I looked away first. Then I heard a chair scrape slowly across marble. He was walking toward me. Tell me, what would you do if a man like that walked toward your table? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know. He didn't ask permission to sit. He simply pulled out the chair across from me and lowered himself into it, unhurried, like a man who had never once been told no and had stopped expecting it. "You've been staring," he said. Low voice, accented, Korean lilt, wrapped in something rougher underneath. "You were staring first," I said. Something moved in his eyes. Not offense. Something closer to surprise, like he wasn't used to being answered back. He reached slowly into his jacket and placed a crisp $100 bill flat on the table between us. His index finger pressed it once, deliberate, then slid it across to my side. The whole gesture took maybe 5 seconds. It felt like 5 minutes. "You're mine for tonight," he said quietly. Around us, the restaurant kept breathing. Clinking glasses, murmured French, soft jazz. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. I stared at the bill. Then I looked at him. "Excuse me?" My voice came out dangerously soft. "My son." He paused. His jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. "He saw you when we arrived. He has not looked away since." I frowned. "And that means his mother died 14 months ago." He said it without flinching. But something behind his eyes, something far back, fractured. "Today is her birthday. He has been crying since this morning." Another pause. He asked me if you would sit with us, just for dinner." I looked past him. The little boy was watching me now. Eyes enormous, cheeks round, his bottom lip trembling, at the edge of a question he was too small to ask out loud. The $100 sat between us, like a confession. "I don't want your money," I said. "I know," he said quietly. I didn't know how else to ask. Something cracked open behind my ribs. I picked up the $100 and pushed it back across the table. "Take it." He looked at my hand. Didn't move. "I'm not a rental," I said steadily. "I'm not therapy for your son's grief. I'm a person, and you cannot slide money at a person and call it asking." Something shifted in his face. Not anger. Something rawer, like a man who had just realized he'd made a mistake he actually cared about making. He took the bill, stood, straightened his jacket, with slow, deliberate hands, the kind of movement that told me he was rebuilding his composure, not fixing his clothes. Forgive me, he said, quiet and direct, no performance in it. Then he turned and walked back to his table. I sat very still, heart doing something it had no business doing. I was right. Completely, absolutely right. So why couldn't I stop glancing across the room? The boy, Shinwoo's son, had stopped pushing his noodles. He was staring at the table now. Both small shoulders curved inward. He wasn't crying. That was the part that undid me. He was the kind of sad that had run entirely out of tears and was just sitting quietly in the wreckage. A waiter appeared at my elbow. Ma'am, the gentleman has settled your bill for the evening. He says to enjoy your dinner undisturbed. I blinked. And the young master asked me to deliver this. He placed a folded napkin on my table. Inside, unsteady crayon lines. I still don't know where the child found a crayon in that restaurant, formed a drawing. A woman, a boy, holding hands, both smiling. Beneath it, in careful crooked letters, you look like her. My throat closed completely. I had principles, I had boundaries, I had a whole internal speech about self-respect. I was already standing up. I crossed the restaurant with my pulse in my throat. Shinwoo looked up the moment I reached their table. His expression gave nothing away, but his hands, resting flat on the tablecloth, pressed slightly harder against the surface. I'm Elizabeth, I said, looking at the boy first. The child's eyes went wide as the moon. June, he breathed. I'm June. I pulled out the chair beside him and sat down. Hi, June. That drawing you sent me. You did that yourself? He nodded, chin dropping to his chest, suddenly shy. It's beautiful. You're going to be an artist. He peeked up at me from under his lashes. You have the same eyes as Iyama. Iyama. Mother. I didn't look at Shinwoo. I wasn't ready for what I might see. Tell me about her, I said softly. And June talked. Slowly at first, then all at once, like a dam giving way. His mother's laugh. How she smelled like jasmine, and something sweet he couldn't name. How she hid little notes in his lunchbox every morning. Drawings of dragons, hearts, sometimes just the word fighting, which she said meant keep going in Korean. Across the table, Shinwoo sat perfectly still, watching his son speak about his dead wife, with an expression I had no language for yet. Not grief. Something beyond grief. Something that had been compressed under enormous pressure until it no longer looked like pain from the outside. It just looked like silence. Dinner came. June 8. Actually, 8. Narrating every bite to me like I was already someone who mattered. By dessert, he had fallen asleep against my arm. The weight of him was warm, completely trusting. I was afraid to move. He hasn't slept at a restaurant in over a year, Shinwoo said, first words in 90 minutes. I finally looked at him. How long has it been? I asked. 437 days, he said. Zero hesitation. The number landed in my chest like a stone. He insisted on having his driver take me home. I said no, twice. Then June, half unconscious, still somehow determined, reached up from the back seat and caught my hand through the open car door. I ended up in the passenger seat of a vehicle that probably cost more than my entire apartment building. We drove without speaking for a while. Seoul moved past the windows in streaks of gold and neon. The $100, I said eventually. Tell me about it. His hands tightened on his knee. My wife, he said. Ji-yeon. She believed in always carrying one $100 bill. Said it was a reminder that dignity is always available if you choose to reach for it. A pause so long I thought he'd stop. It was the one in her purse. When he didn't finish. It was the last one she ever carried. I turned to look at him fully. Shinwoo, you gave me her last $100? When June saw you walk in, he grabbed my sleeve. His voice was controlled but thin at the edges. He said, Appa, she looks like Iyama. At first I thought he was imagining. Then I looked at you properly. He glanced at me briefly. Dark eyes, unreadable and open at the same time. The way you held yourself. The way you didn't flinch when the room watched you walk in. Ji-yeon never let anyone make her small either. The car slowed at a red light. I panicked, he admitted. I don't know how to ask for things I actually need, so I did the only thing I understand how to do when I lose control of a situation. You tried to buy it, I said. Yes. That was a terrible idea. Yes, he said. And something, not quite a smile, but related to one, moved at the corner of his mouth. June's soft snoring filled the silence between us. I looked at this man, powerful, guarded, still, bleeding from something invisible, and felt something I had absolutely no business feeling on a Tuesday night. Be honest with me, would you have gotten in that car? Comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, the next part of this story will break you. Don't miss it. He walked me to my door. June was draped over his shoulder, fast asleep, one small hand dangling loose against Shinwoo's chest. The way he carried the boy, careful and automatic, like breathing, was the most unguarded thing I had seen from him all evening. Thank you, he said at my door. You don't need to thank me. I chose to stay. He looked at me steadily. People don't usually choose things around me. They're paid or they're afraid. Which did you think I was? Neither, he said. It confused me. I laughed, genuinely, unexpectedly. He blinked, like the sound landed somewhere he wasn't prepared for. In the 2 weeks that followed, I couldn't explain what was happening. June started sending me voice messages, Shinwoo's phone, June's voice, about his dragon drawings, about whether jollof rice was better than bibimbap, about a joke he had heard at school that he retold completely wrong and still found hilarious. Shinwoo always texted one line afterward, forgive whatever he just said. I always replied, never. We started talking. Late nights after June slept. Real things. Grief, silence, what it means to build a life around protecting people and then have nobody left to protect. He told me about Ji-yeon. I told him about my father leaving when I was 9, about becoming my own foundation because there was nothing else to stand on. One night he typed, you make it quieter, Elizabeth, the noise. When we talk, it gets quieter. I read that message 6 times. Then I saved it. It came the way disaster always does, without warning, from a direction I wasn't watching. A photo appeared on a tabloid blog, me leaving Shinwoo's building after dinner with June. Taken from across the street, grainy and deliberate. The headline read, Korean crime boss, John Shinwoo's latest acquisition. Acquisition. My phone erupted, my mother. Zara calling 6 times without leaving a message. Comments from people I hadn't spoken to in years, but the one that broke something was a voice message. Unknown number. A woman. Smooth, precise, cold as a scalpel. You think you're different. He chose Ji-yeon the same way. Watched her across a room, made her feel chosen, and then his world ate her alive. She died afraid, Elizabeth. Don't make the same mistake. I sat on my bathroom floor for a long time. I thought about June falling asleep on my arm, about Shinwoo saying 437 days without hesitation, about the $100 and what it meant and why he'd given it to me. And then I thought, what do I actually know? Dinners, text messages, a little boy who called me Miss Ellie. I knew nothing about the other hours, the ones he never named. When he called that evening, I let it ring. He called again. I answered. I saw it, I said before he could speak. Elizabeth. Who left me that voice message, Shinwoo? Silence. Long enough to answer everything. It's complicated, he said. That's not enough. I know. Strained. Let me explain in person. I'm not Ji-yeon. My voice cracked slightly on her name. I can't fill that space, and I refuse to be someone's acquisition. I heard the word land on him. You are not. I need space. Please. I hung up. 2 hours later, June's voice came through my phone. Ms. Ellie? Appa hasn't eaten anything. I turned my phone face down on the table. 3 days. I reorganized my bookshelf, deep cleaned my kitchen, made jollof rice that sat on the stove and went cold because I had no appetite. Zara came over and sat on my counter, watching me move around like something was chasing me. You love him, she said simply. I've known him for 3 weeks. And? I didn't answer. Elizabeth. She put down her mug. You have spent years being completely sufficient, needing nothing, depending on nobody. And now, here is a man, and that child, who actually need you. And you're running because it finally feels real. His life is dangerous, Zara. Most things worth having are. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened his messages, scrolled all the way back to the first one 3 weeks ago. This is John Shinwoo. My son insisted I obtain your number from the restaurant. I apologize for the intrusion. I had laughed out loud at that. The most powerful man in the room, awkwardly texting an apology because a 6-year-old made him. Then I opened June's voice messages, played the last one. Ms. Ellie? Appa hasn't eaten anything. Then, beneath it, one I hadn't opened. He says he is fine. He is not fine. He keeps looking at his phone. I think he misses you. I miss you too. Please don't disappear like Iyama. Please don't disappear like Iyama. I sat up in the dark. I thought about Ji-yeon, about dignity in your pocket, always, about a woman who had loved this complicated, grief-soaked, careful man and raised a boy full of crayon drawings and dragon jokes. I wasn't Ji-yeon, but I was Elizabeth Adeyemi, fully and completely. And maybe that was exactly enough. I picked up my phone and called him. It rang once. He answered on the first ring. I'm sorry, I said. No. His voice was rough in a way I'd never heard before. Don't be. I should have told you everything from the start, he exhaled slowly. The woman who called you, she's the wife of a man who has been trying to dismantle everything I've built for 2 years. She found out about you. She wanted to frighten you away. Did it work? I asked. A pause. You called, he said. I called, I said. Elizabeth. He said my name, like it mattered to him. My life is not clean. I won't pretend otherwise. But everything I said to you, every single word, was true. And June, his voice softened completely. He drew something today. He made me promise not to tell you. What's in it? 3 people, holding hands. He wrote a title at the top. A pause that held everything. My family. My eyes burned. Can I come over? I whispered. We have been sitting by the door, he said quietly, for 40 minutes. I laughed, wet and helpless, and completely undone. When I arrived, June hit me like a small freight train. Both arms locked around my neck, squeezing with everything he had, face buried in my shoulder. Over his curls, Shinwoo stood in the doorway. No suit tonight. Black shirt, sleeves rolled up, neck tattoos visible, eyes soft in a way I didn't think he allowed himself to be caught being. I reached into my coat pocket. That morning, I had gone to the bank. I withdrew a crisp, clean $100 bill. I walked up to him and pressed it into his palm. Dignity, I said. In your pocket, always. His throat worked. He looked down at the bill, then at me. Then he pulled me in, one arm around my shoulders, June still locked between us. And he held on like he was learning how. No money in the world could have bought what we found in each other. But one $100 bill started it all. Tell me your favorite moment from this story. I want to read every comment. And if this hit you in the chest, subscribe. New stories drop every week. You belong here.